Well, um, actually, about a minute early. That's all right. How are you guys doing? If you're in the chat, please introduce yourself. Just say hello. That's all you have to do. I would love to hear questions or comments, sort of kick off a discussion. Just do audio. I, you know, is as pretty as I am, and as much as you guys want to see my face, maybe the video's not that great. Medium for this kind of discussion. Anyway, happy Friday of API Case Files Live, and feel log into the chat and say hello. Temperatures have gone above freezing. We still have what we call snowcrete, which is snow that has had sleet fall on top of it and then became rock hard. I mean, really hard. To clear a path for us to get out. Well, my wife's Toyota has a very low ground clearance, so we had to going over that ice was not a very good idea. We had to get actually a Maddox, like some people call it pickaxe. It's used for trenching, and just smash away at the ice, and eventually smashed enough of it to get the Prius out, and also clear some space in front of the mailbox, which is not in front of our house, but 100 yards up the street. And so because the post office will not deliver if there's a big pile of ice and snow between the road and the mailbox. I don't blame them. The mail lady's actually a very nice person. She just she shouldn't be asked to risk life and limb to deliver our mail. So anyway, we're looking forward to a warmer week next week, and maybe the snow creek will be a thing of the past. Hopefully don't ever see it again. Snow, I don't mind so much. February, January, you expect some snow, but this was a lot worse. Not that deep, but rock hard. Probably get after that tomorrow. The temperatures are supposed to get, upper 40s, and pop that, break that open and. But anyway, this is an unusual Friday for me because my better half is not here. She's also a student at University of Maryland, College Park, and hopefully sometime in the next few months he'll be moving to College Park, just so he won't have to waste all his time going back and forth. About a 25-minute drive or so between here and there. Anyway, this is supposed to be a live stream about UFOs, UFO investigation, UFO philosophy. All hypotheses are open. All experiences are respected. If you have an experience that you want to talk about, let me know. And if you want to come in the live stream, we can do that. We can set you up. You do not have to use your real name. You do not even have to turn your camera on. We can. I don't have a good way to disguise your voice, but otherwise you're anonymous, and we can have you on, and we can talk about whatever experience you want to talk about. This week, I got a phone call from a lady in California on their hotline. Now, the hotline is intended for people to alert, the logical thing to do. Well, it turns out And if you're on YouTube, you probably may not relate to this because you're probably on the web every day. Some people do not like to use websites, do not like to go onto the web. They might type something into Google and get a search, which is how she got our phone number. By the way, our phone number is it's not a secret. It's 240-883-6407. 240-883-6407. You don't have to write that down. You just go to our website and hit the home, a saucer type of object that she saw near Oceanside, California, about a month ago. Didn't know the exact date. Didn't have any video or photo evidence. I did persuade her to send me a sketch, which I posted on Blue Sky. You can see that if you go to our Blue Sky. What are we? We're apicasefiles.bsky.social. You go to that. Without corroboration, we know very little that we could really hang our hat on. She says her husband saw it as well. Now, tonight, what I would like to do, if you have, I'm going to move this to live chat. If you have any questions, comments, something you'd like to talk about, something you read, something you saw, preferably the OBSBot microphone will follow me. See? As I move around, it's a pretty clever little device. It's actually one of the cheaper OBSBots. I would hope is, I think it is going out pretty well. Let me know what you think of it. I normally use my Shure SM4. I like toys. This is my new toy. Well, it's actually not that new. I've had it for a few weeks, but this is the DJI. Yes, DJI, the band drone, Chinese drone. That is called the Neo 2. It's a new version of the Neo. It is a very small, very light, low overhead, low care and feeding drone. It's basically a follow drone. Let me take this off so you can see the gimbal. Yeah. So what this does is, even without a controller, you don't even have to use your phone. You can turn this on and let me see if I can turn on. Okay, it's on. Now, what it does is, you see that? I don't know, is that focus? You get text right here on this little screen, and it tells you what it's doing, and it's
flying well-lit, textured environments.
Flying well-lit, textured environments, people. Seriously. Which this is not a particularly well-lit environment. It is definitely textured. I'm not going to fly it right now. But there's little controls right here. You can set the mode and get it going, and it'll fly and follow you. It'll do a little circle around you, whatever you want it to.
Rear, follow, 3, 2,
Oh,
1.
I actually don't. No, I want you to stop. Okay.
Collision detected. Aircraft.
Oh.
Rear, follow.
Okay, it's off, I believe. um, it's so small and has propeller guards that it really is no threat to anything or anyone. As you can see, these propellers are guard. You can take the guards off to save a little weight. Um, Notice on the back here, there's this little transceiver module. That's an optional attachment. They're not very expensive, but you can get one and you can fly. Yeah. Uh, Still, it's nice to have that option to fly it up high altitude and do a survey. Now, what would be the use case for something like this? Let me get my camera to talk to me. Okay, there we go. All right. What would be the use case? Well, for training type videos, having it follow you to illustrate some key points, which I'm blanking on at the moment, would, if you're doing an investigation and you're going to use this as a follow drone, I recommend that you get somebody else to manage the drone, because this requires too much mental mind space to be able to manage with all the other things you have to do when you're doing an investigation. So, but if you bring somebody along with you who can manage the drone, and it can follow you around, it can do a site survey, go up and look down on you and show the context, that might be really nice for documenting the activity later on. And quite often that's what we want to do, is we want to document what we did at the site. I'm going to put my gimbal protector on. I can remember which one of the sides. Oh, come on. Oh, well, I'll deal with that later. Anyway, so yeah, drones are great and they're fun, but don't get distracted by them too much. If you're doing an investigation and you're using the drone primarily to see actually engaging with the witness, you don't want to be engaging with the drone at the same time. So, or really anything other than, you get your microphone hooked up, you get whatever it is you need to record the interaction, and then you just, you interact. And that's all you do. But don't let it distract you from your primary mission. It's always good to have two people. You don't want to bring a crowd of people unless there's some really good reason for that, especially if the witness is going to be there. A witness generally doesn't mind interacting with one or two people, but a lot of people can be a problem. Some witnesses don't even want to interact with one person. So keep that in mind. The other thing is the drone is great for doing a site survey, giving you an overview, but you can do that to be determined, but may bring somebody along with me to help manage it. It's always good to have like a technical director with you who can handle all that stuff. it's also good to have other people just for safety. Just if you wander off into the woods and you twist your ankle, how do you get back? Well, your buddy's with you, and they can find you and get you to safety. I'm happy to answer anything you guys have got out going on. I did get a good question today on Blue Sky. Is what books should I read? There's quite a few of them. Probably everyone has a different list than me, and I broke them down into two categories. One sort of basic introduction to the history of the topic, and there I think UFOs and Government by Theme and Swords and others is a really good introduction. They bring the receipts. They have documentation of everything they are talking about. They don't make any claims other than what they can document, which is, that's what we'd like to see. People making claims that are highly speculative is not very helpful. But they're not doing that. They're saying, look, here's some facts about what happened. They do have opinions about things like the various government studies that have been done, and I think you know what we're talking about. And it's all well documented and very, very detailed. So that's a good book to start with. Some people would say Richard Dolan's book, UFOs in the National Security State. I'm kind of on the fence about that one. Dolan has disappointed more than once, but that book's actually not terrible. So, yeah. The other one is Hynek's book, The UFO Experience, which I think is pretty basic. If you want to know what close encounters are and lots of examples of them, Hynek has a very thorough job of documenting that kind of thing. Some people will tell you that Hynek had some ethical issues. They may be right about that. But I'm not going to cancel Hynek. I'm just going to say, look, here's a book that I think that if you really want to get the basics, Hynek covers it. Now, yes, he wrote that book in the 70s, and you think, well, gosh, it's been a long time since then. Isn't there much new? Well, basically, no. The heyday of UFOs was most certainly in the 50s and 60s. We still have reports, but in the 50s and 60s, there was no internet. There were no drones. Real aircraft experience then, and some of the best documented sightings happened in the 50s and 60s. So, yeah, Hynek's book is well worth reading if you want a good introduction to the topic. Just read one chapter or two chapters, whatever it is. There's lots of other books. Jacques Vallée's Forbidden Science series. Some of his other books are okay. Others I have problems with, but that may just be me. But the Forbidden Science series is more unfiltered, and I like it. It seems, especially the first volume in particular, but all of them are good. I'd recommend that. A book that you probably can't get, but maybe on eBay you could find it. It's called Uninvited Guests by Richard Hall. Now, Richard Hall was one of the early NICAP people. He accepted a very low salary to go work for NICAP. He was one of the NICAP pros, worked there for several years, documented a lot of UFO sightings. It's probably been 15 years, so I might have a different attitude if I read it again. I might still have a copy of it sitting around somewhere. What else? Well, like I told this person on Blue Sky, you have to have you have to know what kind of sharks are swimming in the UFO waters. You really do. You need to know. Sharks, saltwater crocodiles, anacondas, water moccasins. And some of that's just going to be honing your own judgment and your own BS meter. I've always told people, look, if somebody comes at you with a bunch of trust me bro statements, saying, well, it's all classified, I can't tell you what, but if you knew what it was, you would agree with me. That's the kind of thing where you should definitely not buy into it right away. You want to see more. Ask for more information. If the information is not forthcoming, then maybe it's not old milieu. And, and one of them is Jack Brewer's book, The Greys Have Been Framed. Jack focuses on what he considers and makes a good argument for the exploitation in the UFO community. That is, people who are objective, which is not just getting to the truth and documenting the truth. And those people are more common than they should be. There's lots of them. And I'm not just talking about all the YouTubers who are trying to make a quick buck by, making spectacular claims they can't back up. I'm talking about people who actually interact with witnesses and can do real damage. And Jack has documented some of that, including some cases that we just don't really know what happened. Some, like the Simone Mendez case. There are other cases like the Amber Woods case, where we kind of do know what happened, and it was pretty disgraceful. And you need to know about that. I'll let you form your own opinion about these different cases and the different people who've been engaged with them, some of whom are no longer with us. But you need to know. Another really good one is, and a fun read, I think, is Go Rightly's book. It's called Saucers, Spooks, and Kooks. It is fun. It is crazy. It is factual. And yet, also a book that kind of supports that and goes deeper into one case is Greg Bishop's Project Beta, which is about the Paul Benowitz case. And Bishop did a lot of firsthand research there. So if Saucer, Spooks and Kooks, Project Beta, and another book that doesn't really go into UFOs per se, but which I think covers a lot of that same culture milieu, is John Ronson's excellent book, The Men Who Stare at Goats. Gosh, that book is dark and crazy and just Now, there was a movie that came out with the same title, based very loosely on the book that was highly fictionalized. That movie should not be confused with the book. The book is a completely different experience. The movie is, uh, some people like it, some people don't. I'm kind of on the fence about it. But whether you find the movie entertaining or not is up to you. But the book is factual, and it's the best John Runza can do stuff, including some really good podcasts and documentaries, not just books. So yeah, check him out. The Minister of Goats is terrific, and it's a short, easy read. Some of it's very dark. In the U.S. or under United States auspices. So anyway, yeah, there's other books I could come up with and mention. One that I did mention to this person was a book that I've cited before and think is really good. It's not really much about UFOs in it, but it's Tavris and Aronson's book, Mistakes Were Made But Not By Me. It's about all kinds of errors that people have made, including errors about recovered memory. Now, most of you will think of some of you will think about recovered memory as in relation to UFO abductions. That is, people say that they were taken aboard a spacecraft or some other strange creatures took them away and subjected them to an examination of some kind and then returned them to their beds. And before it was well known, there was another layer of recovered memory that was even darker, which was the satanic ritual abuse or just sexual abuse of people basically in the 80s and 90s, reported as a result of recovered memories, largely, sometimes as a result of interviews with small children, but also just recovered memories and people who went to recovered memory therapists and then ended up concluding that their parents or someone else close to them had abused them, and they don't have a memory of it, but they do now because they've been hypnotized or some other type of repressed memory recovery. And that was a real horror story. It's not to say that no one's ever been abused or experiences. Many of them are completely spurious, never happened, and lives were destroyed. I'm not talking about inconvenience. And so that kind of thing was bad. And Tavris and Aronson go into that, and they go into some other stuff. So I would recommend reading that book no matter what. I mean, it's just a great book. It talks about essentially what people will do to avoid cognitive dissonance, what they will do to make peace with themselves is sometimes very self-destructive. They want to think that they're good people. They want to think that they've done the right thing. And so they will they'll do almost anything. Read the book. Tavris and Aronson explain it a lot better than I do. So, of course, the abductions. They go into the abductions very briefly, but not much. I've read other things about abductions, a lot of things actually in the 80s when I actually thought there might be some reality to it. In the late 80s, early 90s, I changed my mind about that. I now am entirely unconvinced that alien abductions are real. Now, am I willing to change my mind about that? Sure. And I would invite anyone who is an experiencer who feels that they have been abducted by aliens to contact me and tell me why they believe their experience is objectively real and not just a psychological experience. Um, if you tell me that it was because you're hypnotized by a researcher, then I'm probably going to remain unconvinced. If you tell me that there's some other evidence, I'm all ears. I am always willing to admit that I'm wrong. And if I'm unconvinced by something, I'm willing to be convinced, although conviction is a very, very strong position. More likely, I will say, well, I think it might be possible. Subjective level, I think it's more than possible. I think it's likely. But that's not something I can supply evidence for to you. So I can't tell you, well, here's the evidence that UFOs really are anomalous. There are some good cases. There are some excellent cases. I don't know that we've really put together a strong narrative from the excellent cases and weeded out all the spurious stuff, all the deception, all the misperception. That's the problem that you get into because most of what we know about UFOs is eyewitness testimony. We need more instrumented information. So let me just talk about the future of this live stream. I have a couple of guests. Actually, I have 3 guests in mind. I spoke to one of them recently, and he's interested, but he wants to wait a little while longer. Someone I have a lot of respect for, who has done some really great work. He's done a lot of debunking, but it wasn't his choice that he would become a debunker. He just got assailed with these cases which turned out to be bunk. And a lot of them are crash retrieval type cases, which are bunk. I've looked into one myself and found it to be very, very poorly evidenced and with alternative explanation to be very strong. There are other cases which are clearly just frauds. Anyway, his name is Doug Johnson. He'll come on hopefully in March or April, and we'll talk about that. And I hope you'll have lots of questions for him. The other 2 people, I'm not going to give you their names because they have not agreed yet. But I have high hopes that they will say yes. And similar topics, well, not the same. One of these discussions is really not going to be very much about UFOs. It'll be more about UFO experiencers and what their needs are. What their answers are often stuck with a lot of memories that can't be turned into facts. which is unfortunate for me, but for them, it's just as real as anything. So, what can we do? How can we help them? I'm not going to ask the question, did they really experience something physically real? Why? I have no way to answer that question. Not because I don't think they did, but because I just don't have a way to answer it. But we need to address the question of people who have experiences that they struggle with, that cause them stress or emotional pain. How can they deal with that? Well, I'm not the right person to deal with it, but I maybe can find somebody who can. I'm really bad at that sort of thing. The other thing is, and I know someone who is both an experiencer and researcher, and I'd like to have him on too. And you probably have heard his name before, but he hasn't agreed yet, so we'll wait. I have a fourth person in mind, but he's very much not in contact with me right now, and so I'm gonna wait. I've read his book, and I thought it was pretty good, but we'll see. Anyway, gone for about 45 minutes, and I see nothing in the chat, so I am going to sign off. I hope probably the next live stream will be 2 weeks from now, which will be the 27th of February. And I will may or may not have a guest for that. If you want to join live, I would love it. Come to the chat, say hello, ask questions, and we will rock and roll. It'll be fun. So I'll see you then. And if there's